maybe you feel like you're not good enough. Maybe you feel like, oh, once I start, I truly can't stop. Maybe you feel like, oh, I have to finish that food, otherwise it's wasteful. Maybe you were taught at a young age to deny your own hunger signals because no, we don't waste food in this house. And if you waste food, you waste money, and mommy and daddy worked hard for that money. So you're financially responsible for this house. But the thing is, if there's that part of you living inside you still, which it is, whether you want to believe it or not, it is, then we have to go there. If we don't address that and fix it and heal through that part, it's no wonder the surface level fat loss strategies doesn't work. Here's the thing, when it comes to inner child work, there's a few ways we can do this. Most people's easiest breakthrough into this is writing a letter. Writing a letter to your inner child. I'm going to give you kind of set the scene, and then I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. Okay. Because I don't want you listening to this going, okay, that all sounds great, but how do I do it? I'm going to literally show you step by step. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Dieting from the Inside Out. If you're new around here, welcome to the show. My name is Jared Hamilton, as always, and I'm your host. Now, we're going to get deep today. We are like you better buckle up. We're going to get deep. Today's episode, we are talking about inner child and weight loss and why inner child work is so pivotal when it comes to your success, losing weight, keeping it off, and never struggling ever again. But why it's for most people, like one of the biggest missing pieces. Now, the reason this is so relevant right now and why I decided to do a whole episode on it is because if you haven't noticed, at the time of recording this, I have the particular kind of videos I'm putting on like the smaller socials like Instagram and TikTok and things like that. Are these like, they're funny, but really kind of powerful and really meaningful skits. It's where I have on like a wig, or actually a couple wigs. I'm playing like a mom and a daughter, and maybe throw a dad into the mix. And and these skits are popping off. Not just like they're getting a lot of views, but I'm getting such insane feedback from them about everything from like, oh my gosh, this was me. Oh wow, I've never been so seen before. Oh, mine was way worse than this. I had to struggle with this and this, and this happened when I was a kid. So they're a lot, but it's basically telling a story without actually telling a story. I'm like, what I'm doing in these videos is acting out what actually happens from the kid's point of view growing up, and how these things around food and the way we talk about food and weight loss and health and all these things play such a pivotal role in a child's development. So one of two things are happening is parents are like waking up going, oh shit, I'm doing this to my kid. How do I stop? But then the overwhelming majority is, oh my gosh, this is why I struggle. My mom did that. My dad did that. Oh, that happened to me when I was a kid. Oh, they told me the same thing. That's why I can't get that out of my head, and I'm 45 and I can't get 10 pounds off. And so what's happening, like even like at the time of recording this, like my Instagram account only has like 66,000 people, but my profile, because of these videos, has had over 2 million views in just the past 30 days at the time of recording this because of these videos. And here's my thing. I'm not saying those numbers to impress you or anything like that, because like truthfully, like you don't care. It doesn't matter. It's to impress upon you how big of a deal this is. But the next thing I'm getting in a lot of these videos is, cool, Jared, what do I do to fix it? And the reality is we needed to go deep into inner child work. But the issue is inner child work is a little bit longer of a conversation than Instagram, right? So what I wanted to do is create this episode for anyone who is ready to embark on the journey of how to approach inner child work as it applies and relates to weight loss and the things that you went through as a kid, and what to do and how to fix it so you can start on that journey and really, truly heal and get on the other side of these things. Now, let me just say this. First and foremost, I am not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm a coach, but I'm a coach that helps people with these things specifically, because at the end of the day, if we do not address where this shit came from, your childhood, and if we don't put the frameworks in place, you're never going to get to where you want to be. This is why, if you're listening to this and you know what I'm talking about with these videos, and you're like, yeah, that there's something part of me that's being seen. Yeah, there's something that I've never addressed, and this is some stuff that I've never even thought about. But man, that happened to me. I can't get that out of my head. Or, I grew up and was told that I have to finish my food, or, oh, I'm a wasteful person, or I'm not a good human if I don't do this, or I'm not allowed to leave the table until I finish every bite, whatever it may be. But if we don't address that and fix it and heal through that part, it's no wonder the surface level fat loss strategies doesn't work. Because I'm sure if you're listening to this, you've tried everything. You know all the surface level stuff to do. You know to eat in a calorie deficit. You know to eat protein. You should probably go to the gym 2-3 days a week. You know you should move more. You know you should prioritize protein in whole foods. You know you probably should have more moderation in your foods that like are easy to overeat, like cookies, cakes, and donuts. But the problem is it's not enough knowing. Knowing those things aren't enough. It's the doing where things get sticky, but then we have these other things that come in place. Like maybe you feel like you're not good enough. Maybe you feel like, once I start, I truly can't stop. Maybe you feel like, I have to finish that food. Otherwise it's wasteful. Maybe you have an identity of like, I'm a member of Clean My Plate Club from, when I was 6. Or maybe there's some stuff living rent free in your head from when you went to Weight Watcher meetings with mom back in the day. And all you hear is your weight in the scale is everything, and it matters more than anything else. Maybe you were taught at a young age to deny your own hunger signals because no, we don't waste food in this house. And if you waste food, you waste money, and mommy and daddy worked hard for that money. So you're financially responsible for this house. That's what I mean. We're going to get pretty deep. But the thing is, if there's that part of you living inside you still, which it is, whether you want to believe it or not, it is, then we have to go there, right? It's like every house has a foundation if we want it to stand. Well, a lot of people's foundation is this little inner child, defenseless, helpless, just doing the best they can, trying to keep it all together, doing the best they can, but then they're not getting what they need. And that's where we need to go there. But the problem is most people will never tell you about this stuff because number one, it's messy. Number one, it's triggering. Next, it's overwhelming, and most people don't do any sort of inner child work outside of like a therapy session. Like I still go to therapy myself, and my therapist will have me do inner child work specifically in our sessions. She'll like guide me through it. It's crazy. I was actually wanting to get my therapist on the podcast and interview her, but unfortunately there's some HIPAA violations and she isn't able to. But that's a whole different conversation. Well, but the thing is, that doesn't mean we can't put some strategies and structures in play around that. You can start healing the relationship with your inner child as it applies to weight loss. Because again, most people have never been taught how to go there in the world of weight loss. So I even actually, it's funny, I have a lot of therapists I work with in my coaching program, in like one-on-one coaching specifically. And a lot of them will say, Jared, this makes so much sense. I never thought to do inner child work here in weight loss. Like I have my clients and patients do inner child work around childhood trauma, family dynamics, all these other stuff. And they go, I've never even thought to do it around weight loss. Well, and that's the thing, but it's like in inner child work in general. To heal the man, you must heal the little boy. To heal the woman, you must heal the little girl. So with all that being said, if you have these things going on and like those skits that I put out a lot hit home with you, we have some work to do around that. So let's dive in. I don't want to be like a huge trigger warning or anything like that, but at the end of the day, this is how we fix this. And this is the gross inner work most people don't want to do or face to get to where they want to be. All right, let's dive in. So let's talk about why inner child work matters. So here's the truth. If you're watching the YouTube and you see me looking around, I'm looking at my notes. Most of your issues around food, your self-image, everything going on is with your struggles started from when you were little. You could probably pinpoint how old you were when you noticed you were gaining weight. You probably have memories of your mom or your dad or a loved one saying something about your weight. Or you may have, like I showing those skits, you may be 6 being told you have to finish every bite. I don't care if you're not hungry anymore. You're not leaving that chair until you finish every single bite. Then you stay up till 3 a.m. and then get in trouble for staying up till 3 a.m. Right? So most of the things that you learned around weight loss that's not so serving started when you were little, started when you were a child and didn't know any better. This is why like the whole idea of, I should know better. And they're like, no, you shouldn't have. If you knew better, you would have done differently or done better, but you didn't. So let's remove that guilt and shame. But at the end of the day, this is why we have to go there. This is why knowing of like, well, Jared, I just need to know what to do. I just need to eat less, be more consistent and work harder. No, you don't. You work hard enough. You have enough discipline. You have more than enough willpower. The problem is you're not going where this shit stems from, which is when you were 6, when you were 12, when you were 10, when you established, those foods are bad. When you identified, I am responsible for my family's well-being because they worked hard for that food and that wasted food is wasted money. So then you internalize that as a kid. That now if you don't want to eat the rest of your half of a sandwich, you are literally wasting daddy's money, right? Like none of this is okay, right? So, and I get it. There's the conversation of your parents were probably just doing the best they knew how to do. And that's probably what your grandparents or their parents taught them. I hold space for that, but I don't want to deny what you experienced as a child because of, oh, mommy and daddy were just doing the best they could, which is true. This is the epitome of two things can coexist. Like, yes, they were doing the best that they could and they probably had their own baggage as well, but that doesn't mean we need to deny you in the process. Okay. So, but this is why we have to go there. This is why if you really want to get to the end of your struggles around food freedom, food noise, your identity, your happiness, your consistency, like all of the stuff that you want started from when you were little. We have to change that autopilot because imagine you have like this brand new car and you're letting a 6-year-old drive it. It's no wonder they're going to crash it because 6-year-olds aren't supposed to drive cars. It's not that anything's wrong with a 6-year-old. They're fine. They're doing what 6-year-olds do. But if you put a 6-year-old behind the wheel of your Yukon or whatever car you drive, it's not their fault that they crash it. So, but right now there's a lot of you listening to this where you have your inner 6-year-old driving your weight loss car. And it is no wonder you can't get ahead. It's no wonder you sabotage. It's no wonder you gain your weight back. It's no wonder why you say fuck it and crash and burn. It's because you have a 6-year-old driving your car. And again, I mean this with no shame, with no judgment, with no anything. It's just, we're having the conversation. So that's why we have to go there. That's why we need to do some inner child work. Because here's the hard reality. That story and that version of you is still inside somewhere. A lot of people, when it comes to this psychology and this work, they go, oh, well, that's happened. The past is in the past. Why is it relevant now? It's because it's still inside you. This is the hard thing with belief systems. If you believe one thing, your brain goes to work to prove it right. If you believe all people are bad and out to get you, life is a scary fucking place. Because your brain goes, oh, this must be true. And then it finds evidence to support it. But if you go, no, most people are good, wholesome individuals who are just trying to get ahead in life, who are willing to help their fellow individual, well, then life's a beautiful place. Same reality, but you just, your brain shows you what you truly deep down want to see. So if you have these beliefs from when you were little that these foods are good, these foods are bad, or, oh, I have to... excuse me. Or, no, I have to finish my plate. I have to finish my food. Otherwise I'm a wasteful individual. But ironically, at the same time, you use drinking water to flush shit down the toilet, right? So it's this conversation where we have to go there because that story and that identity and those belief systems are living in you somewhere. Because if they weren't, you wouldn't be struggling right now. Right? If these parts of you were not still active, moving around in you, you would not be having a hard time, but you are. So this is why we need to go there and fix it. This could be, like I said earlier, this could be like Weight Watcher meetings with mom. And you heard all these women freaking out and they're like celebrating like they won the lottery because they lost 4 pounds. Or maybe your mom had a bad weigh-in and the scale spiked. And so she got publicly humiliated because she's 3 pounds up. So now when you go to weigh yourself, you're 3 pounds up. And now you feel like you saw your mom get from Weight Watcher meetings. That's how crazy this shit can transcend. Is because as a child, you internalized a lot. We all did. Right. So this is like I did a video. One of the videos I did that popped off like crazy was it was a little girl. It was the little girl I was acting out, listening to her mom talk about Weight Watchers and talk about losing weight and all these things. But then the video cut after that. She's like, oh yeah, mommy's trying to lose weight. Oh, mommy can't have that because it has too many points. Oh no, you don't need to count points yet. Like, and there was a lot of that conversation, but then I cut to almost like a dream scene of the inner dialogue of the child. And it was, well, wait, everyone says I look like mommy and mommy needs to lose weight. Does that mean I need to lose weight? Mommy said carbs are bad. So do I. So does that mean carbs are bad for me? You know what? I want to be like mommy and I'm not going to eat carbs. This girl's like the idea, the skit, the girl's like 6, right? But this is why kids internalize everything. So even if your parents didn't mean anything, or even if an individual or someone that you learned from didn't mean anything, it doesn't matter if you internalized it a certain way. So this is why this inner child work matters, right? It could have been a belief of you're not good enough, or you don't deserve happiness. It could be like you're so far gone, or you should be further ahead, or we don't waste food, or all these different things. It doesn't matter. I mean, it does, but you get the point that I'm trying to say is with all this stuff, this is where a lot of the baseline beliefs that you adopted and internalized and picked up started from. So if we want to course correct and change them, we got to do some inner child work. We have to go deep and like actually talk to them. Okay. Now here's the thing. Everything I'm about to tell you, again, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor. I'm a coach who works with real people on this stuff every single day. And I suggest most people need to go to therapy. But at the end of the day, there's still a level of this stuff that you can start doing on your own. These are the kind of things I have my clients do. And it is so beautiful. It works so nicely. Even when I'm working with a client, I'm not like doing like an inner child session like this, what I'm about to tell you. Like with them, I'm giving them these frameworks to start working on so they can start unpacking these things on their own. So here's the thing. When it comes to inner child work, there's a few ways we can do this. We can either, I think most people's easiest breakthrough into this is writing a letter to your inner child. Now, if you really want to get kind of surreal, like you could actually meditate, visualize them sitting next to you on the couch. Like, again, this is not Jared theory. This is all proven by psychology, and therapists and whatnot. But there's a few ways you can do this where you can literally like go, whether, like I said, you're visualizing you having a conversation with them, or you literally telling them in your body, or I found just in my work with people, one of the easiest ways to start this is just having someone write a letter to their inner child, as if you are going to send this thing as soon as you're done where you're talking to them. Okay. Because I'm going to give you kind of set the scene, and then I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. Okay. Because I don't want you listening to this going, okay, that all sounds great, but how do I do it? I'm going to literally show you step by step. So, but here's the scene. Here's the energy going into this. You now, knowing what you know now, are talking to this little kid. So you knowing what you know now in the version you are now in a very big brother, big sister, or almost parental fashion is talking to this child, to this little kid. That is the scene. It is not you like as them or anything like that. It is almost like you could call it reparenting almost. It is the adult higher level version of you right now talking to your inner 6-year-old, the 6-year-old version of you for when all this stuff went down. Because here's the cool part. You can even go crazy with this in a good way, and do inner child work around different ages where certain things were relevant, right? I can tell you for me, I've done inner child work around my 6-year-old self, my 13-year-old self, and like my 17-year-old self, right? So like, we're not going to go too crazy for this episode, but the reality is you can use this framework for whatever, like the version of you that went to Weight Watchers and with mom at 8. You can even do it when like, let's say your parents got divorced at 13. And you were feeling one sort of way. It could even be like, let's say you ended up struggling in your early 20s, and now you're 50 and like your 20s were terrible. Like you could do an inner child work around that. It's almost like you have inner children in your body, but that's really what's happening. So for this, that's the scene. There is the higher level you now literally just talking, almost reparenting this little kid. This is what my biggest pet peeve when people are like, oh, crush the old self, stomp on the old self, overcome. I'm like, bro, chill out. That old self is a 6-year-old that's scared shitless right now. They don't need overcome. They don't need defeated. They need seen, loved, and accepted and had a really nice conversation with. They need validated. That's really what needs to happen. Like imagine like seeing your 8-year-old self and being like, I'm going to conquer you and like destroy you. Like, no, you need love. You need acceptance. You need a really big sister, right? And that's the thing is that's what you're doing here. Because one of the ways I talk about this with clients is I go, cool. So if I could put you in a room with your 8-year-old self or whatever age this is, would you have words? What would you say? Everyone goes, oh my gosh, I would have so much to say. I go, awesome. Maybe you should say that. Because this is the cool thing with psychology is you can literally go back in time almost, heal this thing, let go of some things. And then it actually manifests on the surface now because of the way this whole game works. So let's walk through this together. Okay. So if you're taking notes, here's where you should start. Step number 1, we need to get clear on who it is. Who is this inner child? How old are they? What do they look like? And what do they feel most of the time? I can tell you in therapy, when I do most of my inner child work, it's a really scared 13-year-old boy. What's wild is for me, I actually even have a picture. When I visualize my inner child, I actually have a picture, an old family picture, and I go, that's him. It's not the 8-year-old, it's the 13-year-old for me personally. So for you, even if you can get a picture, it makes it even more vivid because now you're literally talking to that individual, that beautiful little kid. Okay. So step number one is you need to get clear on who you're talking to, right? So get clear on what they look like, who they are, what they're wearing, how their voice sounds. Like get hyper specific around what's this little kid look like, right? What do they feel? What do they do? What do they do for fun? Visualize that when you're writing this letter because that's who you're talking to. You are not talking to yourself now. It is you now, this educated, higher level version of you as an adult having a very beautiful conversation with this little kid, okay? Step two, or next step. So here's where the letter starts. First things first, I need you to thank them for keeping you alive and doing the best that they could. Here's the problem. Most people have a lot of resentment to their inner child because they should have known better. I don't know why I do this. I don't know why would I have started binge eating when my parents got a divorce? Or, you know what? I should have known that mom was being crazy with Weight Watchers. So but I don't know why I struggle with this because they were a fucking 6-year-old. Get real. Like, I'll put it this way. Like when my 3-year-old niece throws a temper tantrum because she's not getting her way, like it's no one's surprised. It's because she's a 3-year-old trying to figure out these really big emotions. I was talking to her dad about that. Like my older brother, when the 3-year-old was throwing a hissy fit, he's calm, cool, and collected. And we were talking about it, and he goes, yeah, she's just trying to figure out what she feels. Of course she's going to throw a hissy fit. She can't do a hissy fit in the living room and yell and scream at people. So if she's going to have a hissy fit, she goes to her room. But otherwise, like, she's just trying to figure out her these big emotions. And I thought that was beautiful because that's what kids do. Like, think about this. Like, you're trying, like, where a lot of shame comes from is you're trying to put your, however old you are, 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old intelligence, in awareness, in life experience, in an 8-year-old's head, in a 6-year-old's head. Like, imagine a fourth grader coming to you and say, why am I not I should be in college. Why am I not in college? It's because you're in fourth grade. You're where you're supposed to be. You're learning what you're supposed to be learning. So step number one is you need to actually thank this little kid for keeping you alive, because you learning to binge eat when you were 10, because that's what mom did. That was just you trying to grow up and be like mom. You were doing your best. You didn't know. Or maybe you started emotional eating because you didn't know how to handle your parents' divorce. Maybe when your parents get divorced, it was crazy hostile in the house or all these things. And for you, you're like, I feel better when I eat, so I don't hear them scream at each other. So I'm going to learn to go eat when I get sad or when I get overwhelmed. No judgment. That was a 13, let's say how old you were. Let's say 10. That was just a 10-year-old's highest of, I don't like this. I'm going to go do this to not have to deal with it. You're 10. You didn't know any better. And that's okay. So stop putting adult awareness and expectation on a 10-year-old. It's like expecting a 6-year-old to know calculus. They're not supposed to know calculus. But this goes for a lot. This goes for everything, right? Let's say you were taught, hey, we don't waste food. Wasted food's wasted money. So as a kid, you internalize that. You're like, I've got to make sure our family's money is good. So I'm going to force feed myself and learn to binge eat and deny my hunger signals. You didn't know you were doing that. You were just trying to obey your dad. Obey your mom. You're trying not to waste money. You had such pure intention as a child. You didn't know it was going to cause these issues, right? This is why we have to get rid of the judgment, get rid of the shame. You were a child that didn't know any better. If you would have known better, you would have done better, but you didn't. So big, deep breath. Let go of that shame. Let go, release it. It doesn't belong here anymore because you were a little fucking kid. But we could tell stories for days around this stuff. Right? Whatever the thing was, you learned it and it was your highest at that time. It was just a 6-year-old doing their best. It was just a 12-year-old doing their best. It was just you trying to be the role model or model after your mom or after your dad, or just trying to do the best you could, whatever the case may be. Or let's say it was avoiding not getting abused or getting hit or getting beat or getting yelled at or getting screamed at. Let's say you got told, you can't leave the table till you can't leave the table until you eat all your food, and you got in trouble for staying up till 3 a.m. Well, now you force fed yourself so you didn't get in trouble. That was just you little trying to keep yourself safe and alive and doing your best. So that's the first things first. That was your highest back then, and it's okay. which means you need to, first of all, as the adult now, hey, thank you for keeping us alive. Thank you for doing the best that you could. Here's the hard one. I wouldn't be here without you. You know, it's funny, and I always get emotional when I talk about this. So I used to resent, I'm going to get back into this, but I think this is relevant and it just came up for me. I used to get really resentful over my inner child, really resentful, because it caused so much, because the struggles that I had, it caused so much suffering, so much anxiety, so much stress. And I was talking to my therapist about it because I was in a therapy session and my therapist was asking about my inner child. And I said, yeah, that little fucker, and she goes, wait a second. You said that little fucker? And I go, yeah, whatever. And I was just being playful. She goes, does that seem very helpful? Does that seem like very kind? No, it wasn't. She goes, why do you have so much resentment and anger towards this little inner child? And I basically said what I just told you. I said, it's because he causes so much anxiety, so much stress, so much strife in my life. And I struggled so much growing up because of this little guy. And she goes, and this was where it hit me hard. She goes, you know, you wouldn't be the Jared sitting in front of me right now that you're so proud to be without him. And I went, fuck. That was the ego hit that I didn't know I needed. I go, man, I had so much resentment for my inner child. But like, she literally put it in my face and she goes, you know, you wouldn't be who you are now. You wouldn't be the successful Jared that speaks on stages and helps millions of people, that has this huge podcast and everyone knows and loves, and that like you built this crazy business that helps so many people. And like, you're now like traveling, you have this life, you have this beautiful wife, you have all these things that you always wanted. And you wouldn't have any of it if it wasn't for this inner child that kept you safe. And I'm like, fuck me. That was hard to hear, but it was so true. And the reality is it's no different for you. You would not be here without your inner child. You would not be listening to this right now and having the life that you have and the things in your life that you like and you're proud to have without this little inner child. So we need to start with gratitude in this letter. Hey, I just want to let you know that I thank you so much for doing the best that you could. Literally, I wouldn't be here without you. You literally got me through childhood. Thank you so much. That's how I want you to start this letter. Because it's almost like this. Imagine like a 6-year-old bringing you like an ugly, like, you know, picture of a flower. It's going to look like shit, but it was a 6-year-old's highest, right? Imagine like telling the 6-year-old, oh, that's not Van Gogh, or that's not this beautiful, the artistic thing. Like it's ugly. No, it's a 6-year-old's best. They drew you a flower. It was the best that they could do. So you appreciate it. You thank them for it. It's the same thing here. That's step 1. Step 2, I want you to apologize to them for resenting them. I want you to apologize for them and not that you, because as the adult, you haven't been giving them what they needed. This was hard for me. Hey, I just want to, first of all, before we get into this, I want to apologize to you. I've been resenting you for way too long. I haven't been as appreciative of you as I should have been. And I hate that it's taken me this long to write this letter. And I just want to say that I'm sorry. And I'm asked that you forgive me for being resentful, for holding on to some of these grudges and being so angry with you for so many years. Okay, that's step 2. Here's step 3. I want you to validate them. Because here's the other thing. Like, if you think about what did you need when you were a kid? Like with all this stuff going on, like this is kind of a caveat to this part in the letter. What did you need? For me, I needed to be told that it's all going to be okay. I needed love. For me personally, I needed comfort and I needed acceptance. I needed to be accepted and feel like I was loved. And so for you, what do you feel like you needed? What did you not get that you needed? Because right here's where you can give him or her that stuff. Hey, look, I know mom and dad are crazy. You know, I know mom taking you to Weight Watchers meetings, like that was never appropriate. So like you have every right to struggle. I don't blame you for struggling. What mom said, mom talking shit about herself on the phone to her best friend for years. And while you were just listening to it and internalizing it for you, wasn't right. She shouldn't have done that. Like there's so much power of validation in honoring these feelings, right? We don't want to go, oh, well, mom was just doing the best that she could. She didn't know you were listening. No, it doesn't matter. Stop that. Mom shouldn't, you know what? It makes so much sense that you struggle. Mom should never have done that. That was so hard for you. You should not have had to carry that load on your back. I don't blame you for being overwhelmed and learning to binge eat. Mom and dad didn't handle the divorce the way they should have, and they neglected you, so you went and had to soothe yourself with food. I'm so sorry. Right? Whatever it may be, I'm just giving examples here. Validate your inner child with whatever they experienced. Validate them. Hey, you know what? I totally get why you were upset. I totally get why you emotionally ate. Mom and dad didn't take as good of care of us as they should have. And so then you had to go fend for yourself to keep us alive. You should never have had to deal with that. I'm so sorry. Like, guys, I'm telling you, talk to this inner child like they're in the fucking room. So far, we have our first thing is thank them for keeping you alive and doing their best. Number 2 is apologize to them for you resenting them and taking so long to write this letter. And number 3, right here, validate what they felt. Validate everything about what they experienced. When you validate it, you're not making it. You're not saying, oh, you're not saying it was okay. You're saying what they experienced was valid to feel. You know what? Mom and dad never should have put us in that position. They should have taken better care of us. Or you know what? Mom giving you that Weight Watchers book was not appropriate. She should never have given you that Weight Watchers book at 8. So that was never right. You have every right to be upset. You have every right to be overwhelmed and feel scared to around food, right? Hopefully you guys are making sense of this. Now here's where it gets really cool. Step number 1, 2, 3, 4. I want you to relieve them of their duties. You are the adult now. You are in charge now. You've connected with them. You're in this beautiful moment with them. I want you to relieve them of their duties. Hey, look, I just want to let you know, you don't have to try to protect me anymore. You don't have, look, we're safe. You'd be so shocked at the life we have. We have a beautiful husband that loves us the way we are, so we don't have to keep chasing the scale number because dad was really big on it. Food is so abundant. I know we had to finish our plate because money was tight, but I want to let you know now I'm successful. You helped me be so successful. I'm so thankful for you. And we have an abundance of food now in the house. So you don't have to keep finishing your plate. You're allowed to waste food. You're allowed to stop when you're full. The days I want to let you know you're officially relieved of all of your duties. You don't have to keep me safe anymore. You don't have to carry the weight of the world on your back anymore. You don't have to keep trying to get us to lose weight all the time. I'm officially relieving you of your duties. That's number 4. And then the last piece, whatever else comes up for you. Whenever I talk to people, I say, hey, what would you tell your inner child, that this little kid, if I could put you in a room with him right now? You should, whatever this, you should probably tell him that. You should probably actually say it, whatever that comes up for you. So that's the last piece of this, is whatever else comes up. Right? Everyone's is going to be different. Hey, I don't know why I feel like I'm pregnant with a child myself now, and I just want to let you know that I'm going to do things different with her. I'm not going to make her go through what you went through. Literally, you're the catalyst for change in this house, and I'm going to have a baby, and I'm not going to do the same thing to her that mom and dad did to you. Right? Whatever it may be, whatever comes up for you. That's just what came up for me right now. So this is how you do inner child work. This is the epitome of dieting from the inside out. This is the heroic work too. Here's the truth, guys. This is in my notes. Anyone can sit down and count some calories. Anyone can starve themselves for a while. Anybody can go and take a bunch of supplements or take a shot or take whatever. This is the shit not very many people's willing to do. But I'm sure if you've stuck around this far, you may have some misty eyes. You may be feeling some things, and all those feelings are valid because part of you is being seen for the first time. There's so much power in bringing light to darkness. When you have these parts of you that you have kept hidden in a basement because they're gross and they're yucky, or you may not even been aware they were there. That's why you get emotional. That's why if some of these things hit home, it's why you want to cry. It's why these things are coming up, because they now have space to leave. They have space to move around now. You actually quite literally imagine living in a house that you've lived in your entire life, and you found a trap door and you have a whole nother room that you've never explored before. That's where all this shit's at. but there's no lights in there. So you got to take a flashlight to it. So you're just in here getting curious. That's all we're doing here is getting curious and talking to this little guy, this little girl. That's it. Bringing nothing but love. Shame, guilt, and frustration are never good means to cause change. Yeah, we do things because like we don't want something bad to happen, but this is why guilting yourself into doing better, shaming yourself into doing better. Oh, you should know better. You're eating yourself into doing stuff. Doesn't work. To be honest, you probably learned that when you were a kid too. That sounds a lot like a lot of fathers I know, or a lot of moms I know, or a lot of teachers from childhood that I've heard about, right? Stop doing that to yourself. This is the heroic work. This is the stuff no one else will do. I'll be honest with you. There's probably a level of people that are, you guys that are listening to this right now that's going, I can already feel some stuff down there. I don't even want to look. And that's okay. You don't have to. Sometimes you have to be ready for this. But I can tell you there's some people listening to this right now or watching it who go, oh, I think this is it for me. I think this is my breakthrough. And you will. I've done this. I've literally cannot tell you how many people I've had do this. And it is the most powerful stuff ever. Because this is not just a one and done thing. You don't have to do inner child work like every day by any means. But when you notice something starts to get triggering and come up for you, this is where you're like, I think I need to go talk to them again. Right? If you do like inner child work, let's say maybe once a month. All right, I'm going to sit down and write this letter to my inner child again. And then a month from now, you're going to go, okay, I'm going to write back and talk to them again. Build a relationship with this inner child of yours. When you get triggered or anxious or like, oh my gosh, oh, this is just them. When you step on the scale and you're like, oh my gosh, oh, nope, this is them scared of the number, not me. All right, I need to comfort them. What if every trigger and issue that you have has nothing to do with you and it's all about them? What if every time you step on the scale and that number's crazy, like crazy, right? I say crazy, like you think it's crazy. Like, oh my gosh, I'm 4 pounds up. That's a 6-year-old on that scale. What would you tell them? Hey, look, I know you're upset. I know you're scared and I get it. You have every right to be because that's what mom taught you. But I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be scared of this number anymore. You're beautiful no matter what you weigh. You don't have to chase this number on a scale. The scale number has nothing to do with who you are. Like, what if you did that every time you had a triggering instance? You treated it as if it was the 6-year-old version of you in front of you, or the 8-year-old or 13 or whatever age. Imagine how fast you would heal. Imagine how much perspective you would have. Imagine how much love would come into your life. I had a client, I was having a coaching session last night with a client of mine, and she goes, Jared, one of the things about working in this program, I've been so surprised is I'm so much happier. And it has nothing to do with weight loss. And I said, yeah, you want to know it has nothing to do with weight loss? And she goes, what do you mean? I go, you're shedding love and light to all parts of you now, even the dark ones. So of course you're going to be happier. I go, the thing is, if we suppress our emotion, if we suppress the negative, we also subconsciously suppress the positive, right? Numb is numb. We can't cherry pick what we're like become numb to. Right? If I got a shot because of surgery, like when I had knee surgery, when they numbed my knee, I didn't feel them cut me open, but I wouldn't have felt a massage either. But numb is numb. And so this client of mine says, everything is so much happier in my life. I go, it's because I've been healing your inner child and loving on them, but you've brought love and acceptance to all parts of you. So it's the darker ones specifically. You become a space of love for anxiety. You become a space of love for this unseen little girl inside of you. You become a space of love and acceptance and holding space for feeling lonely or whatever these emotions are. So of course, as you heal, everything is better. And now wherever you go, there you are. So you bring in this new higher version to everything else in your life. This is where it gets powerful. So this is why inner child work is so powerful. And I want to make it, I would love to be a part of the movement, and you guys as well, to where we bring these deeper things into diet culture, right? Diet culture is still a really gross place. Eat less, move more, carbs are bad, work harder, working out's therapy. Like, don't get me wrong. Diet culture has its good in it too, but man, there's a lot of bad. There's a lot of disordered eating. There's a lot of bad relationship with food. There's a lot of isolation. But imagine if we brought this into diet culture. Hey, let's learn to regulate our emotions. Let's hold space for this old past versions of ourselves and these kind of things. So otherwise, my friend, that is it for today's episode. I really appreciate you being here and you sticking around. It means a ton to me. If I can ever help or serve you, by all means, let me know. I have a bunch of stuff for you in the chat or in the comment section. If you haven't gone through my free course, join my free Facebook group. I have all that there for you, just as other means of support to help you. And then if you're in the camp of like, you need a little bit more help with this stuff, and you're like, man, I think I need a little bit more direction. I have options for different coaching, or depending on when you're watching this, either coaching available, like whether it be my one-on-one or my coaching group, the collective, or if it's not available at the time of watching this, there will be a link to join the wait list if you are wanting to inquire and see about that stuff. But otherwise, be sure and subscribe if you haven't already to the show, so you know anytime some other episodes like this are coming out. Otherwise, I love you, and I will talk to you next time.